Raymond Weil have been quietly killing it recently, and if you've been overlooking them as a brand, I'm going to show you one watch that will change your opinion. The Millesime 2930 small seconds. The term Millesime actually means great vintage, and identifies a champagne or sparkling wine produced with grapes from the same vintage year for at least 85% of the bottle. With that in mind, the Millesime is a firmly vintage-focused release, and it takes inspiration from the sector dial watches of the early 20th century. A little bit of history on the brand before we get into their modern releases. Raymond Weil was founded in 1976 in Switzerland at the height of the quartz crisis, and for a while they produced exclusively quartz watches, only branching out into mechanical watches in the 80s and onwards. Then, in the 90s, they expanded their research and development department, enabling them to bring more manufacturing processes in-house. Their collections have often been associated with music, producing the Maestro collection, a Beatles watch, a Buddy Holly watch, and various other models using musical nomenclature. Recently, they've slowly been revamping their Freelancer collection with interesting watches such as the Pop Bicompax Chronograph, the Freelancer GMT, the Chronograph Bicompax 7780 limited edition, which is based on a vintage motorbike, and as well as these circular round watches, they also have cushion case watches in the collection as well, such as the handsome RW1212, which I recently photographed for the print issue of Oracle Time and absolutely loved. The use of colour and textures on the handsome aforementioned watches is what makes them stand out. But for Raymond Weil's latest release, the Millesime, it's good looking in a far more restrained way. I've been lucky enough to have the watch on my wrist for the past week now, and I've been testing out its real-world credentials. The first thing you notice on this watch is obviously the sector dial, and unsurprisingly, it reminds me a lot of the Longines Heritage sector dial launched a few years ago. However, this version forgoes the Arabic numerals used on the Swatch Group version, and instead opts for applied indexes everywhere, which when paired with sharp loomed dolphin hands and a crosshair divider results in a precise, almost clinical looking dial. Colour-wise, there's varying shades of silver used across, which when viewed through the vintage box sapphire looks absolutely killer. The restrained look extends to the circular case with a vertical brushed satin bezel and alternating polished and brushed finishing elsewhere. Wrist side, you have an open case back showcasing the automatic RW4251 with a power reserve of 38 hours and resonating at 4 Hz. On the rotor, Raymond Weil's signature W is cut out, but apart from that, the view is fairly unremarkable. There actually isn't much info on this caliber, but with the familiar specs and a previous partnership on the in-house movement with Sellita, I would imagine it's a Sellita base. Size-wise, you have a 39.5mm diameter, a 10.25mm height, and a lug-to-lug of 45mm. The numbers mean it's a really squat and compact watch, which wears incredibly comfortably on the wrist, especially paired with this leather grey strap. With only a 50-meter water resistance, the Millesime sits firmly in the dress category, but I feel it works well as a casual design-led watch, and over the past week, I've had a ton of compliments. As well as the small seconds 2930 reference, there's also the 2925, which has a central seconds hand and more colour variations, including a salmon dial and a gold case version. Personally, however, I really love the vintage look of the small seconds. Now to the price. It's no bargain, but at £1,695 is more affordable than the direct competition Longines, despite perhaps not having the same quality of movements. Also, the central seconds variation is even more affordable at £1,395. Overall, I think the Millesime really does live up to its great vintage name. And on top of that, it recently won the Grand Prix de Horlogerie de Genève in the challenge category for watches below 3,500 Swiss franc. And although it may not be a consumer-focused award like the Oracle Time Award, the expert panel really does know their stuff. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more watch news, releases and reviews.